Hi everyone, welcome back to Lisa's Love and Light. Thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate you all, and thank you for showing up and tuning into the messages within this videos. And I hope these messages are resonating with you and helping you with your own personal circumstances. And please feel free to share them with others who might be going through difficult times. We're going to change it up a little bit here today. We're going to talk about grief. And keep in mind, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a social worker, and I'm not a counselor. I'm just someone who's gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, and I talk about ways I've gotten through it, how I became an overcomer instead of succumbing to these problems and trials and tribulations. So guys, with that being said, the topic of discussion today is healing and moments of grief. Healing and moments of grief. I've had my share of grief that could last me 2 lifetimes, guys. Especially as I talk about in prior videos, redundantly about all the problems and situations, because they're not normal problems. It felt like one title that I used was The Dark Night of the Soul, because it was a domino effect of things happening. And what I had to realize is that the people I had around me were not real, authentic friends, fake, people in my energy, and as well as, how do I say this, unsupportive family members as well. And I had to, make some serious changes in my life to get everything back within alignment, and with the help of God, of course. I couldn't do any of this without Him. So one of the things I want to say here is that Sunday is still a hard day for me, because Sunday used to be a time where, at the end of the week, I would call my mom, have conversations with her on the phone, see how she's doing. We'll check in like weekly to see what's going on with either one of us. And it was a time for mom, out of my schedule and whatever was going on. And I don't have that anymore because she's not here. And it gets difficult at times because Sunday is the time. Also, when I used to live at home, Sunday would be a big Sunday meal, and we get together, etc. But I don't have that anymore, and all the people that I lost, including my dog, etc. So Sunday, even though it's been 5 years, guys, it's still difficult for me. I still suffer with grief, and just because I've overcame a lot of things doesn't mean that I don't have those moments. And those moments of grief I have are trigger moments, because it comes unexpectedly when I least expect it. Through a song, a memory, a picture, or something that reminds me of my mom or my dog. The most difficult part was going through all of that alone with no support. And when I say support, I don't mean for someone to give me some money, etc., or codependency or any of that. Just people sometimes, as we need others to talk to. It's an outlet for everything. Especially, that's why I always encourage therapy, because it's an outlet for the pain and everything that we're going through that we may not, know how to deal with. So that's a safe place to start. And like I said, it was hard going through all these things alone. And then my dog dying, he didn't die right away. It took 2 weeks, and back and forth in the hospital. It was just horrendous. And the people who I thought was in my life, who had my back and who was my friends, and they would never let me down. God sat me down and showed me who these people were, because in my time of need, there was nobody around, nobody had time, etc., and so forth. So I sat alone with all of this, and with death after death every week, getting phone calls sometimes twice a week about this one passed away, this happened to that one, and etc. and so forth, while I was still going through the other stuff. So, and nobody was there. If I picked up the phone, the call, the talk, nobody had time. But when other people were going through whatever they were going through, I was there and took the time to hear what they had to say. I was there always giving, but nobody ever gave me an equal give and take. It's like I didn't matter, family wise, friends, etc. Um, so, what I want to say, I have some notes here. For some reason, some of these folks feel the need to reach out now, 5 years later. And I find that really like weird to me. 5 years later, after the aftermath of all of this, you want to reach out to me now. If it's a metaphor to me of like, if you guys ever seen the movie Titanic, I'm just doing this part in there. It feels like I was on the Titanic and the ship was going down, and everybody else got off and said, "Sorry, we can't help you." And they was on a lifeboat, and they, got to the shore, and then they come back years later to see the aftermath and surprised that I survived it. That's what this feels like. And I don't have any words for these folks at this point, because if you're checking in with me 5 years later, I don't have words for that. What does that mean to me? And to give you an example about that, I had a friend that I grew up with. We've known each other since I was like 14. I know of all of her kids when they were children, babies, and now they are adults with children of their own. And what I realized with that relationship, and especially it took a lot of work with my therapist on this one, because we were like best friends. So I thought, right? And I was always giving and giving and giving my time, no matter what it was, whether it was babysitting or doing this or that, just being used and not realizing it at the time, and then just growing up into that. And so, because, I'm no longer part of a religious organization that this person was, and then they came out of it, and then, because we didn't stay in contact for a long time, and then a relative of hers contacted me and said she wanted my phone number. Okay, sure. I was happy at that time. This was about a year and a half ago. And then we started talking again, reconnecting. And I was happy about that. And then we did this for about 3 months. And then one day I picked up the phone to call her, and I got voicemail. So I left her a message because she's probably busy or whatever. And no call back, no nothing. Then I left another message because I was concerned that something had happened or whatever. Nothing. And then I called that relative of hers, and he said she's fine. And that's all I needed to know. So after I left those messages, and not only messages, but text messages as well on the phone to make sure she got them, nothing. And it's like feeling a high, and then that high comes down to a low. It's like, what happened here? So I had to go through that again, the loss of this friendship again. And so now, once again, about 2 weeks ago, it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years, this same so-called friend reaches out. And remember, I'm a person who always say, yes, I'm going to be there, I'm going to help you, etc., so forth. But nobody's helping me. Nobody's taking the time to listen to me, to hear what I have going on, right? And so this time I said enough. So when the relative reached out to me that she wanted my number again, and not only did she want my number again, but she needed some kind of help. Say what? And I just, when I get upset now about things, I just kind of laugh it off and say, you know what? The answer is no. I'll pray for her in her situation, but I'm not helping her. In fact, we no longer need to be in contact, because she showed me what kind of friend that she is, and I don't want that in my life anymore, because I've gone through that since I was a teenager, with this so-called friend, and I had enough. So what I ended up doing is cutting the cord, guys. Cut the cord on a situation because it's one-sided, and that's what I had to learn with these hard lessons when I sat in all of this craziness and pain and hurt and etc. That I'm overgiving to people who don't give a damn about what happens to me, and I can't say it any other way. It's the truth of the matter, and I had to be sat down to see this for what it is, to see behind a mask and not what I wanted it to be. And I got it. And then I said no. And I had never really said no to her. No, I'm done with this. There's nothing to do. I'll pray for you and that's it. Nothing more needs to be said. You know. So let's see, I'm going on. So I made it clear that I wasn't interested this time in reconnecting for any reasons. And in fact, I'm not interested in reconnecting with any of these folks from the past. And it seems like now, for some reason, while people are going through their trials and tribulations, that they want to think about me and, oh, let's pick up the phone or let's text Lisa and see if she can help us out. No, the old version of myself would have said yes, but the person I am today, no, I'll pray for you and that's it. Because these people showed me who they were in the most difficult times of my life, and the grief and everything that I went through. You know, get through this the best way you can was the actions that they showed to me. So now what I do is leave them where they are. You know, I'm not reconnecting because my lessons have been learned, guys. I've learned. It took a long time. I spent on that will over and over and over for a long time before I learned these lessons. You know, at this point in my life, I'm still healing. You know, I choose myself and God because I owe myself everything. I already gave half of my life to these folks that felt entitled to me when they're not entitled to anything, to me or anything associated with me. I speak my truth. I talk about my pain, and I talk about the lessons I've learned. And I am not going to get off this journey and regress to something that brought me so much pain and hurt. For what? You know, when people show you their true self, believe them. Don't calculate it and make it out to be something that it's not. See it for what it is, and you know, see the truth of the matter. And that's what I've done. Although the grief is still difficult, you know, on Sundays it's still hard, even 5 years later. I have been leaning on God and walking towards my new beginnings. God has been helping me so much, guys, because as I do the work, he you know, as I take steps, even though some days I just don't feel like doing much of anything, you know, we all have that, we're human. As I take those steps, God is behind the scene taking 2 and 3. God has been opening up new doors for me. Lots of good things that I'm embracing. How can I embrace these things if I'm still stuck over here with people who don't care about me, don't care what happens to me? How can God bless me if I'm still stuck over here? And that's where the stagnation comes in that I talk about a lot on this channel, being stuck. And if you're stuck in a place of bitterness because of what somebody did to you or how or when or way back when, you have to heal that. Because I'm going to tell you, I was at a place of bitterness for a long time. I'm not forgiving shit. And I had that type of attitude. So I'm talking from experience, you know. But I had to sit in that and understand that when you stay stuck, you know, in that, and no matter how hard it is, you know, they keep the power over you. So if you stay stuck in that, you're stuck and stagnated in a bitterness of who did what, when, whatever, and that person or situation has moved on to something else. They're not thinking about you anymore while you're stuck in bitterness, pain, crying all the time. You're not living your life, you're just existing. So what I did is snatch my power back. I did the work to heal, snatch my power back, and chose myself and God, and chose to close those doors so that they can't re-enter and bring more pain in my life, and I choose myself. And as I did the work, the pro and con list helped me out a lot when my therapist suggested that, because what I learned from the pro and con list, that I was overgiving. I'm a generous person. I'll help people, but when people start taking advantage of me and disrespecting and doing the most and the worst, I gotta cut the cord. Cut the cord. See you later. Goodbye. Because another example of this is a friend I had a long time ago. He was dating a friend of mine. He was dating her, and they were having some issues. And he would like to call me at night to talk about if I can talk to her because she's not listening, and he don't know how. Please, because I don't want to lose or whatever. I have to get up and go to work in the morning. I get up early, and I would talk to him, hear her, and do, the least I am today, I'm not doing any of those things, not getting involved in any of that. But, I thought these people cared about me. They were in my life, friends, etc. And when I was going through difficulties, and once again, I'm not talking about tangible things to give me like money or not, but support. Hear me out. Maybe, of course, you can't change my circumstances, but you can be there to listen and just, be there as a support system. And they could care less. You know how many nights I stood up, I stayed up listening to this stuff, and I had to get up and go to work the next day. And I just said, okay, it's time, cut the cord. Cut the cord on all of this. And, I can see these people in the street now keep walking, because it's like the song, there's someone who I used to know. Because these people didn't care. And some of them are surprised that I made it, that I'm still here. But it's by the grace and mercy of God that I'm still here. Because all these things I've gone through that I've talked about, especially in prior videos, I would never survive all this without God. But I am here because of Him. And because I chose myself and I chose God. And I left these folks where they were. Guys, if you're going through this right now, cut the cord. Set strong boundaries, cut the cord. And that's what I did, because when you see things as they are, don't say it's something else. You see a duck, don't call it a dog or a cat or something else. See it for what it really is. See behind the mask that people are wearing. Because what they're showing you is who they really are. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn. Especially going through grief and everything, and I had to heal all these things, and it took time. I still have moments of grief like I talk about, but everything I'm talking about here, I had to go through by myself in a physical, and I had to learn how to trust my instincts, my intuition, trust God, and keep moving. The key factor for me was to persevere through them and let myself feel the pain, and not making myself believe that it's a sign of weakness if I cry, if I express myself. Because that's what I grew up in. And I had to readjust my thinking, my mindset, so that I could see things for what they truly are and not what I wanted them to be. So it's so important, I had to change every aspect of my life, because I had to realize even family and these folks didn't care about me. They're showing me, So why would I pretend I'm not seeing what it really is? So, and I had to heal these things, and it took a long time. But I'm at a much better place, because God has been helping me so much as I help myself. And if anyone's going through this, prayer, and keep moving forward. And even when you don't feel like moving forward, take a step. Because a step, and ask God to help you. And He's really behind the scenes taking 2 and 3 steps on your behalf. If you're not out there trying to set somebody up for failure, hurt them, is if you have pure intentions, God will be there to help you. And I'm living proof of that, guys. And grief is not something that's easy to go through, because grief will take a toll on your physical and mental health. And I had to, while going through all of this, take care of myself. I had to self-care as well. Make sure mentally I'm good. Make sure physically I'm good. So I was hitting the gym left and right, and just taking care of myself. And I still do that today, because it's so important. And I tune out the noise of the toxicity and negativity. I had to cut off a lot, lose a lot, in order to gain myself and to have this relationship that I have with God. And now everything is starting to move upward. And one of the vows I made is to pay it forward. It's to help turn this pain into power, power into a purpose, purpose into helping other people, which I do on this channel. This is one way I help others, because someone is going to tune in to some of these messages and it's going to resonate with them, because it may be a circumstance that I talk about that I've already gone through that they may be currently going through. And I'm teaching people ways that I have become an overcomer. And like I said, sometimes it's making adjustments, how we see things, seeing things for what they are, changing our mindset so it's not broken, doing the work, through therapy. And then just taking care of yourself, because all these things will lead to self-care and self-love. Because how do you expect to open up new doors and walk through them if you can't love yourself? How are you going to give love to anybody or anything else if you don't love you? So start working on you first. And even though the grief never goes away, it will diminish. It won't feel as painful as it did the first day. That's the message today, guys. Thank you for being here. Remember to self-care on a daily basis by doing something for yourself. Take time out of your schedule daily to self-care, because it will help your mental and physical health. This is Lisa, shedding love and light always. Thank you all for being here today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your day, and please subscribe to the channel. That way you will know when I'm here. Thank you again, and have a great day, guys. Bye for now.